now available in paperback and e-readers. Spellbound, a darker shade of black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. I have to wonder about this whole concept of elitism in the goth subculture. And I have to ask a question. Is it really elitism or is it really introversion? Because when it comes down to many people who are a part of the goth subculture, many people in the goth subculture are introverts. And when it comes down to introverts, we often see things completely different from how they truly are. Because when it comes down to many introverts, we often are living inside of our heads. And because we live inside of our heads, we often see things that aren't actually there or perceive things about people that really actually aren't who they truly are. And I came to these kind of observations as I was watching one of the Gothic Rock Goddess's videos about a year ago, and she touched on the subject of a lot of people taking elitism out of proportion. And when I looked at it, and I looked at a couple of other people's videos, and I studied their body language, I saw that a lot of people who were a part of the goth subculture were shy like myself, and many people have said it themselves that they're shy like myself. And when you're shy and you're an introvert, oftentimes you aren't very comfortable around a lot of different people. And in some cases, this can trigger social anxiety, and that social anxiety can pretty much lead to you being on edge when you interact with others or in a large group with others. And when other people approach you, oftentimes you can struggle to interact with people, and sometimes they'll say something and they're not meaning to be offensive, but they're just saying something, making an observation, and that observation can be misconstrued as elitism. And that's what I'm thinking is happening a lot these days, because when it comes down to a lot of goths who are talking about this elitism, I think it's being blown out of proportion because a lot of people are believing that they're running into these perceived to be elitists when it's just people just trying to talk to each other, and they're struggling with their own, introversion, their shyness, and social anxiety, and struggling with those issues is making them see people as someone they truly aren't, and it's really based on an idea of what they think the person is, when maybe this person is just either making an observation based on their opinions, or they're making some critique of something, and the people are just taking this as elitism when it's not really elitism. It's just the person trying to navigate a tense social situation. And that's what I think a lot of these perceptions of goth elitism are really coming from. The fact that a lot of goths are shy and they struggle, in social situations. I struggle with social situations myself, and I've run into this quite a bit in my own personal life. And I've had people, say, because I stay to myself, oh, he's conceited, oh, he thinks he's so much. And that's not the case at all. In many cases, when I'm by myself and I'm staying to myself, I'm sometimes thinking about other things. I'm not thinking about, the people in a social situation. I'm not really worried about the people in social situations. Sometimes I'm running ideas for books in my head. Sometimes I'm thinking about what I want to get to eat after I go someplace. And it's not that I'm thinking about this other person. I'm not trying to be conceited. It's just that when you're an introvert, oftentimes you are inside of your head and you're thinking about things about what you want to do. And a lot of people, sometimes when they approach you, it catches you off guard, and the way you may respond to them may set them off or offend them because they're not used to you, talking to them in the way that you're talking to them. And introverts oftentimes, again, because we are inside of our heads, we don't think about how we say things or how to approach things because we're still struggling, with social situations. And this is something I'm seeing with the goth subculture in some cases, where some people are taking introversion and turning it into elitism. And because they're taking introversion and turning it into elitism, they're seeing people who could possibly be friends and people they could have, social relationships with as enemies, and they're keeping their distance from each other And I think it's one of the things that's really, hampering the subculture and hindering the subculture and keeping it from growing, because people aren't really feeling like they can connect with other people because they think this person is an enemy. They think this person doesn't like them, and that in many cases could be just all in your head. The whole idea of this person being an elitist, and they could just be basically a person who has a difference of opinion, a different set of ideas, or someone who just disagrees with certain things, and that's just basically part of social interaction. I mean, I think that this whole concept of elitism has been blown out of proportion, because when I look at, many people again in the goth subculture, a lot of people are introverts, a lot of people are socially anxious, and that's what's leading to people being on edge and seeing elitism where it isn't. And I think it's one of those things that everyone has to, work towards trying to deal with, because social there could be a friend in places where you see this guy as an enemy, or you see this person as an elitist, or you see this person as a jerk, but this person may not be a jerk. This person may be a pretty really nice person. It just takes time to get to know people, because this is one of the things that is a big issue with introverts, is that it often takes a long time for an introvert to get to know another introvert. And once that wall gets broken down, oftentimes, once two introverts become friends, they become extremely close friends, almost like family. And all it takes is just people learning to break that wall down and having the patience to break that wall down for those people to connect. And this is something that I think a lot of goths have to think about, because I think the whole concept of this elitism has been blown way out of proportion. And I think it really has to do with people being introverted and struggling with social anxiety. And because they are struggling with being shy, introverted, and having social anxiety, it's really preventing them from seeing people as great people, and preventing them from having relationships with great people who could possibly be some of the best friends they could ever have in their life. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Samurai Goddess. The goddess next door takes on kung fu killers in this action-packed martial arts Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Samurai Goddess in paperback and e-readers today.